Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Stay Healthy at Home webinar series. I'm just going to give everybody a couple seconds to settle in. I see everybody filing into the attendees room right now. We're so happy to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Okay, so my name is Ashley Ritchie, and I'm the director of the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project. We are so happy that you can join us today for another installment of the weekly Stay Healthy at Home webinar series, which is part of our Healthy Lifestyles Project. So I'm so delighted to be joined by two guest presenters today, and I would like to introduce Dr. Ann Ryan and Sara Brown. Dr. Ann Ryan is the online program director for Strive Worldwide, an online program designed to teach independent living skills to individuals with intellectual disabilities and autism. Ann's background prior to joining Strive is in higher education, serving as an academic dean and campus president. Ann has a master's degree in higher education with a focus on online teaching and learning, and a doctorate in academic leadership. Ann's academic research has focused on providing access to higher education in underserved populations. Ann lives in Kennebunk, Maine with her husband Brian, son Ollie, and dog Stan. Sara Brown is the training coordinator for PSL Services / Strive and an instructor for Strive Worldwide and TOPS, which is Strive's transitional program for high school students. Sara has worked with PSL and Strive since 2004 in residential and community support, program management, and curriculum design, and lots of other super fun projects as well. Sara enjoys building relationships with participants and furthering inclusion through education. Sara studied sociology at the University of Southern Maine and is EdTech 3 certified in the state of Maine. Thank you both again for joining us today. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully you are now seeing it. Sara, you can keep me honest. Tell me if you can see it.
Looks great.
All right. So again, welcome and thank you for joining us today to learn about time management. What we're presenting today is part of a 5-week online course that we offer at Strive Worldwide. And we're excited to be here today to talk to you about time management, procrastination, and tiny ways that you can change your behavior that leads to big results. So before we get started, this is just a quick how-to. If GoToWebinar is new for you, this is where you would go to ask questions. So there will be times where we'll ask you to answer a question. This is also where you would go. You type it into the questions. And then click send to send them to us. So again, if you have your own questions or if we ask you questions and you want to participate. Sara.
All right, hi, thank you for having us. I'm excited about this. This is a slide that we share at the beginning of all of our courses because we really want to remind everybody that our information is really participant-centered, and one of kind of the mantras of PSL Strive is do with, not for. So if you are a self-advocate, awesome. If you are attending with support, awesome. And so we want to remind people that kind of what a supporter's role is. And if you are attending with support, you know, that's super great. Asking for help when you need it is self-advocacy. And so is saying, I got this if you do, right? So if you know what you're doing and you don't need help, it's okay to say, I can do this on my own. So we want to remind the supporters in the audience, if you are attending with a participant, to let them do their thing as much as they can. Okay, so we want to be in that middle circle with empowering. So let's remember to empower our participants. All right, so here is our agenda for today. So we're going to start with some introductions, kind of already did that, but we want to know who you are, so we're going to do that up next. And then we're going to do an icebreaker activity. Following that, we will talk about what is time management. Next up is procrastination and time wasters. Then we're going to talk about priorities and goals. And then we're going to talk about how you change your behaviors to meet your goals. And we'll close out with one of our great activities that we do every class, called Rose, Bud, Thorn. So if you are an introvert like me and you like to think about questions ahead of time, we're going to ask you at the end to think of one thing that you learned, one thing that you're looking forward to, and one thing that was unclear or challenging. Okay, so be thinking about those because we're going to ask you at the end.
Okay, so we already really kind of did the introductions of ourselves. So as Sarah said, we want to learn a little bit about you. So if each of you could, in the question box, just type your first name, and if you have someone joining us, let us know who that is too. And if there's anything else you'd like us to know, feel free to share that as well too. So again, you type that in the questions area. And we'll be able to see it, and I don't think you will, but we'll read it out for you guys. All right. Here we go. Seeing it come in. You seeing that, Sarah?
Not perfectly.
Yeah, it's a little small. We've got Kathy and Amy, who has worked at the Arc of Monmouth for the past 8 years. That's wonderful. Erin, who is the, oops, it's really small, the coordinator, referral coordinator with New Jersey NJSAP. We got
All right.
Alexa.
Sorry, Alexa from CARES clinicians from Trinitas Hospital. I think that might be the bottom.
That's right. Great. So let's go on to our icebreaker. We like to start every one of our seminars off with an icebreaker, which is usually one of our seminar favorites. We like it because we get to ask silly questions, get warmed up, and we can identify any tech issues folks might be having before we really get started. So we often use the chat box, but since today we weren't sure how big of a crowd we were going to have, and it's a pretty decent sized crowd, so thanks for joining us, we're going to use the polls today. So I am going to go ahead and launch our first icebreaker poll, which hopefully you are seeing now. So if you see the polls pop up, you can just answer the questions. And then when we think we've had all of our questions, or all of our participants join in, then I'll share the responses with you. But my go-to breakfast drink is one iced coffee, followed by another iced coffee, followed by a green chai tea. And that is my morning ritual, which I just love and get thrown off a little bit if I don't get to follow it like that.
I'm pretty much a water all the time kind of person. So water and then occasionally tea, but usually just water.
Cool. All right, I'm not seeing any responses come in. If I'm going to go ahead and close it and share. So you should be seeing that we've got the majority are coffee drinkers, 56%, 6% tea, 25% orange juice, 6% water, and 6% something else. All right, very good. Thank you for answering our first question. Now our next question has more to do with time management. So on a scale from 1 to 5, how good do you think you are at time management? 1 being not so good and 5 being really awesome. I think I go between like a 3 and a 5, depending on my day, how much caffeine I've had, how I'm feeling.
I had a lot to do today, so I've had it like pretty well scheduled and it's worked out so far. So feeling okay today. So maybe 4.5 today.
Awesome. All right, oh, things are still coming in, so I'll give it one more second. Okay, I think we've got everybody. So it looks like we've got some pretty good time managers. We got 7% out of 1, 7% out of 2, 67% out of 3, 13% out of 4, and 7% out of 5. So that's pretty great. Now, our last question. Are you a procrastinator? Yes or no?
I totally am.
Not a gotcha question. I can procrastinate with the best of them. Okay, not seeing any more votes coming in, so we'll go ahead and close that out. So 79% are procrastinators. All right, and 21% are not. Good for you guys. I wish I could be a no all of the time, but I'm not. But we will learn some great tricks to avoid procrastination today. So let's start it off.
All right. So what is time management? So let's see some answers. What do you think? How would you define time management?
And those questions again or the answers to those questions can go in the question box. So Erin says organization. Great. And we did miss saying hello to Chanel and Brian, so welcome. Alexa says prioritizing. Amy says scheduling. Those are great answers. All right. Should we show them our answer?
Let's see it.
Viviana says schedule priorities.
All right, so our definition of time management is using the time you have to best accomplish your goals and tasks. Makes sense, right? Kind of what you said. I like it. So what gets in the way of good time management? Any ideas? What do you think, Anne?
I think my phone gets in the way of good time management from all too often.
I hear you.
Or, yeah, just not wanting to do something or dreading doing something. That always puts off a task for me.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so here's two things that I think too that get in the way. Procrastination, that's me playing on my phone instead of doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Or whatever I don't want to do. And then our second one is that we're really not great at estimating how long time takes or how long things take. So we're going to do a little bit of an experiment, and this translates better when we all have our cameras on, but we don't today, and that's okay. We're still going to do it. So I want you to, we're going to try to feel out 30 seconds. So I'm going to set a timer, a stopwatch on my phone. I want you to put your hands on your head when you think 30 seconds is up. Okay? So I'm going to start this on 3. Ready? You're going to put your hands on your head when you think 30 seconds is up. Ready, set, go. And you're bobbing your head like you're counting.
I am totally counting.
Totally cheating.
And now I've just lost my count. Thanks, Sarah.
Exactly.
I'm going to get this wrong. I blame you if I'm wrong.
You're wrong. And that's 30 seconds. So Anne put her hands on her head at about 25 seconds. We're really not great as a species at guessing how long time takes. So that's one thing that we can do to get better at things.
Brian lost his too. I don't feel bad.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. How did you guys do? Tell me in the question box. Did you do well? Were you right on? Were you too long, too short?
Erin was close but too short. Amy was a few seconds off, too short. Viviana was close. Natalie went a little bit longer. Alexa got just about right. Nice work. Chanel was too short. Yeah, it's tough.
Great, great. All right. Well, let's think about some of the other things that we do in our life and try to tell me how long you think those things take. Okay? So, here we go. How long do you think it takes to brush your teeth?
Brian, I was not picking on your height. I was appreciating that you were short with your counting too and lost count. Viviana says 2 minutes. Brian says 2 minutes to brush. Amy says 2 minutes.
I think you're right. The American Dental Association also agrees that 2 minutes is about the right time to brush your teeth. Now, follow-up question, do you think that you brush your teeth for 2 minutes every single time? I don't.
Natalie said it should take 2 minutes, but usually about 1 minute.
I agree. That's probably where I'm at too, right? And then a lot of dentists will just tell you as long as you're doing a really good job, time doesn't really matter. As long as you're brushing every teeth and every tooth gets clean, it's long as it needs to be, right?
And Erin sets a timer, which is a great hack.
Absolutely. You can either use your phone as a timer, and there's also like the sand timers from like a lot of board games can do the same thing, and those are great. And then some dentist's office give those out too. Very cool.
I don't know if this is quite what she means, but Viviana says she does 2 minutes with the electric toothbrush, and some of those pulse when you're supposed to like stop.
Cool.
Very helpful.
Very cool. Excellent. How long does it take you to get dressed? From choosing your clothes to putting the clothes on your body. How long does that take you?
Erin says 15 minutes. Yeah, I think I'm in that ballpark too. I wish I could be a lot faster, but I'm slow going in the morning. Viviana says 10 minutes. Chanel says 10 minutes. Amy, 10 minutes. Erin, I appreciate this. I wind up changing my outfit once or twice too. Natalie, 7 to 8 minutes. All right, Natalie's winning the time.
I'm probably in that 7 to 8 minute kind of time frame too. I try to go really fast. If you were looking to speed up that part of your day, there's a couple of things that you could do. I had another class right before this, and we did a workout. So I knew that I was going to need to change my clothes before this presentation. So I laid out my clothes when I first got up this morning. I laid out my workout clothes, and then I laid out my presentation clothes. So I was ready, and it didn't take me long to think about it because I knew that I was going to be in a time crunch and I needed to get dressed quickly. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you could do, and this is a little weird, but some people are really into it. And if you like it, great. It's only weird if it doesn't work, right? So some people develop their own personal uniform. If you had to wear a uniform to work every day or to school or to hang out on the couch every day, it wouldn't be hard to choose, right? And it wouldn't take very long. So some people say, I'm going to wear a white button-down shirt and a pair of khakis every day, or I'm going to wear a black t-shirt and a pair of jeans. And you could develop your own personal wardrobe and just pick the things that you like and wear those same things every day. I mean, a lot of people really like to mix it up from day to day, but some people that works for them. So if you were looking for a really speedy way to do it, you could. All right, here is probably my favorite thing to do ever. How long do you think it takes you to take a shower?
My answer is just way too long. Alexis is 15 minutes. Yeah. Natalie, 10 to 15 minutes. All right, I'm not alone here. 10 minutes for Amy. 8 to 10 for Chanel. 10 for
Mine is
Vivian.
mostly limited on my hot water supply. And if I had more hot water, I would take longer showers. So I'm kind of glad that I don't because I would never get out.
10 for, and I apologize if I say this wrong, but Kachutzia. And too long for Erin. 5 to 10 minutes for Brian because guys are sometimes faster. That's true.
Yeah. So you've got some flexibility there, right? And it depends. Like if you are very productive in the shower and you're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But I think a lot of us spend some time like Ferris there, you know, singing into the shower head and things like that and just relaxing, which is also really important, right? So showers can be a really great exercise for healthcare for a lot of people and for self-care. So, you know, do what you gotta do. And then if you're in a time crunch, know that you could probably do it faster if you had to, right? But get what you need out of it.
All right. So now we're going to work on our estimating skills. So how do you all like to tell time? I'm going to launch the poll. So you can answer you like analog or you like digital. All right, we've got a lot of people weighing in on digital. That's definitely my go-to as well. If I do analog, I need to like stop and translate and carry the 5, and it just takes me a lot longer. Okay, I think we've got a good amount of votes in there, but if we missed your vote, you can put it into the questions. So 13% like analog and 87% prefer digital. Great. So one other question, how do you estimate time? Do you use a watch, a clock, a phone, a sundial? Do you wait for someone else to tell you it's time to do something or something else? All right.
I use timers a lot, and I'll set an alarm for myself, and I'll set a reminder alarm for that alarm.
Yeah, I've come to rely on my phone too much so that I feel like if I don't have it, I have no idea what time it is and sometimes even what day it is. So, okay, I'm going to close this out. Again, if you're still voting, you can do so in the questions. But so far, we have 15% use a watch, 15% use a clock, 62% use their phone. Nobody uses a sundial these days, or sundial.
I mean, there's one out front of my house. If you want to use it, I could take a picture. But
okay, excellent. 8% wait for someone to tell me it's time to do something. All right, awesome. So as we can see, some people are better with analog, some people are better with digital, but sometimes both can be difficult for folks. I said before, I'm a digital gal. I have to pause and translate an analog clock, and time can be tricky. And it's really helpful when you can estimate about how long something takes with time management. So if you have trouble estimating time, let's think of some examples you can use to estimate your time. So 2020 was the year of teaching people how to wash their hands. So quick trivia question, put your answers in the questions area. About how long are you supposed to wash your hands? Alexa says 20 seconds. Kachusia says 30 seconds. Viviana says 20 seconds. 20 seconds from Natalie. 35 to 45 seconds from Amy. 20 seconds from Lazadra. And Brian says, sing happy birthday twice. That's great. Okay, so the conventional wisdom is about 20 seconds. That can fluctuate, but we're going with 20 seconds. So Brian already answered this question. Happy Birthday is a great song to use as a guide for how long you're washing your hands. But what about a longer song? We picked Thunder by Imagine Dragons because that is a 3-minute long song. So that's a good tool to use if you need to estimate 3 minutes. So let's say if you had a goal of spending 3 minutes each morning picking up your bedroom or living room, you could pick a song like Thunder, jam out as you work, and then when the song's over, your time's up. Or another way you could use this is for working out. This is something I like to do. You run for one song, walk for the next song, or you could pick a different exercise like sit-ups or squats and work out until your time is done. So we're going to practice a little bit more estimating, or a little bit how long something takes. So about how long do you think a TV show like The Good Place takes?
Let's see those answers in the question box.
Alexa says 45 minutes. All right. It's possible we do not have a lot of Good Place fans here, which, if you haven't watched it, highly recommend. Amy says 40 minutes. All right. I'm going to tell you. It's about 30 minutes. If you watch it on a platform that doesn't have commercials, it could be about 20 minutes. So what about a longer show like The Queen's Gambit? This is one I have not watched yet, but one that everybody tells me I need to watch.
I will recommend it. It was good.
You watched it?
Yeah, especially if you like chess, then it's extra good.
I like learning about chess. I'm not very good at playing chess. Alexa says 50 minutes and she recommends it too. Amy says 45 minutes. Brian says 1 hour for The Queen's G. Yeah, so I think really you're all kind of right because it's about an hour, which is 60 minutes, but if you watch it again without commercials, it's probably more like 45. So these are guides that you can use. Then we could, for a longer one, we have movies that are at least 90 minutes long or an hour and a half, but can be longer, like 120 minutes. So The Princess Bride is 98 minutes long, and the Avengers Endgame is the longest Marvel movie, and it's 3 hours and 2 minutes. There it is. Okay. So those are some tools to help you with estimating. So now that we've got a handle on time, let's talk about what gets in the way of managing our time. And we named it before, that's procrastination. So procrastination is putting off a task until the last minute. So instead of doing something early on or with a lot of time to complete it, we often procrastinate and do other things until we don't have much time left. So what are some tasks that you all like to procrastinate doing?
The dishes.
Yes, putting away laundry for me, most hated task ever. Often I will just manage my laundry right out of my laundry basket.
It looks like
Natalie, yeah, Natalie's right with me with laundry. Amy, laundry and filing papers. It's funny, I don't mind the washing or the drying part. It's just putting it away that is so painfully terrible. Yeah, okay. So feel free. Alexa says cleaning, great. And what do you guys think it is that drives us to procrastinate? Viviana is cleaning also. Brian is paying bills. That one can get you in trouble, Brian. But I feel you. So yes, what drives us to procrastinate? Alexa says TV. Yep, definitely something. I'll just watch one more show. For me, it's often reading. I'll just read one more chapter.
Not wanting to do it. Absolutely.
Not wanting to do it. Not a preferred activity. That is what we think. Something we don't want to do, or we're distracted by something else like social media or phones or television, or we misestimate how long it's going to take. So, is this a good idea? And what are the negative outcomes or consequences to procrastination? Anyone have an example of something that went wrong due to procrastination? It can be for yourself or for others. I'll let you guys think on that and I'll share some of our thoughts. So you could have a worse work output. You might not do your best work when you are rushed. You could cause other people to be late, or you could be late yourself, and that's frustrating to others. It could lower your self-esteem if you're upsetting others, or if you're constantly late and rushing, or others can see you as a procrastinator. And Amy and Kat had some great answers. So it just piles up, making it worse than doing it to start with. Absolutely. Getting a bad grade while I was in school, having a lot of regret. Excellent answers. And you guys can tell me, do you do your best work when you wait to the last minute? I know sometimes I don't do half bad, but sometimes it's just too much. And if I get that sort of anxiety of, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make my deadline, then my work product goes way down. If I have
oh God,
just to the right amount, then I'm okay.
Nice.
Brian says, oh God, no. Viviana says no. Yeah. So it's not our best tool, procrastination. And if you'd like to learn more about procrastination, there's an amazing TED Talk called Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator. And this monkey that you're seeing here is the procrastination monkey who's trying to take control of your brain chip. It's really good, and it explains my brain pretty well, I think. So.
All right, so kind of like what we talked about, we all want to be good time management and managers, but procrastination gets in the way. So one of the reasons we procrastinate is because we don't want to do the thing. And we often procrastinate things that are not a priority. So Stephen Covey suggests thinking about our tasks by asking ourselves 2 questions. So is it urgent? Like, does it need to be done right now? And is it important? So like, how badly do we need to do this thing? That will help us draw a map of our tasks like this. So the boxes on the left are the tasks that are your highly urgent task. It has to be done right now. And then the boxes on the top are your tasks that are really important. Cool. So let's take a little bit closer look at this. So you end up with boxes that look like this. Box 1 is things that are important and need to be done right now. So those are crises. And the slide isn't working. That's cool. There we go. All right. So there we go. We're back in the business. All right. So box 1's highly important, highly urgent. Those are crises, right? Let's jump down and look at box 3. So box 3 are things that need to be done right now, but aren't super important. These are your interruptions. So you're doing your best work, things are going great, and then the phone rings. Pretty urgent because you have to answer the phone, right? But it might not be important. So that is an interruption. Let's move over and look at box number 4. So box 4 are things that don't have to be done right now, and they aren't very important. We call these trivia. So things that just aren't that important, right? And I don't need to do it right now. A lot of times we like these things, right? All right, so let's move it back up and look at box number 2. Things that are important, but we have a little time to work on them. So we call these prevention. So this is where we want to spend our quality time, right? We want to increase time spent on these tasks. Let's get a couple more clicks there. It is quality time, and we want to increase the time spent in this box. If we work on our tasks before we get to box 1, hopefully it will reduce those crises, right? So it's not, oh my God, I've got to get this done, or I'm not going to make my deadline, or I'm not going to have time to shower before my presentation. So no one wants to be in crises. So we can reduce our time spent there by spending more time in box 2. Box 3, interruptions. We want to manage these. So is there somebody else who could be working on this? Does it need to be me? Right? Could I get somebody else to put the laundry away once I've washed it and folded it? And it looks hopeful. Right? And then box number 4, if it's not important and it doesn't need to be done right away, Why are we doing it? Right? So let's avoid those things. Unless, of course, they're your self-care things and those really aren't trivia, right? Those are important. So if it's, taking time out to go for a walk with your dog, or doing 10 minutes of meditation, or taking that bubble bath, or whatever it is, those are important and those go in the prevention box. They are not trivia, right? Don't avoid them, right? So you can use this method when you're making a to-do list. It's a great way to manage your time and keep yourself organized. So think about which box you would put your task into, and then try to deal with that box 2 stuff before it sneaks into box 1. So let's hear a little about another expert in the field of time management.
So now we're going to talk about the FOG behavior model. But first, real quick, does anybody have a good definition of what they think a behavior means? You can type that right in the question box. So what is a behavior? Alexa says a behavior is anything you do. Sure. How you act. Yeah, we're saying behavior is an observable action. So Dr. B.J. Fogg is a social scientist and a Stanford professor who is the founder of the Behavior Design Lab at Stanford. And the Fogg behavior model says that a behavior happens when 3 things come together. Those are motivation, ability, and prompt. So now what does that mean? So motivation is the desire to complete a task. Ability is being able to complete the task. And a prompt is the reminder to do it. So let's look at an example. Brushing our teeth. What's your motivation for brushing your teeth? Could be your health, your breath, you don't want to get teased by your friends. And what's your ability? Can you brush your teeth? Probably. You've likely been doing it for a long time. So then what's your prompt? Maybe it's part of your morning and bedtime routine, or maybe you have a reminder set for when you brush your teeth. So what if you wanted to add a new habit? Fogg also has ideas on how to start new habits. He suggests anchoring or connecting a new behavior or habit to something that you already do, then making an itsy bitsy tiny commitment or promise, maybe even so small that it's silly. Then when you do it, you celebrate. Woohoo! So it's the ABCs of habits: anchor, behavior, celebrate. So what's the smallest thing you can think of that would make a situation better? Then when you do it, you celebrate. So here's my example. When I get home from work, which is something I used to do a lot, but now I'm already home from work, I will pick up 3 things from my living room. Could be a dirty dish or a soda can or a piece of junk mail. And then once I've dealt with them, then I can celebrate with some Netflix. So Dr. Fogg created this recipe card with his ABC ingredients, and it's really handy, and it goes like this. After I blank, I will blank, then I celebrate by blank. So an anchor moment could be something like brushing your teeth. So this is something that, again, we hopefully do as a routine, and it's a perfect anchor moment. We might not really even think about needing to brush our teeth. We just do it when we wake up, after we eat, or before bed. So if we look at our first of the tips and tidbits, this is an example of a routine that we can use for an anchor moment. Now, if you ask my dentist, a habit that many more people could stand to have is flossing their teeth. It's not a hard task to do, but I'll be honest, I struggle to make it a routine. Look at Sarah over there showing off.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
She's ready. So a tiny habit would be to floss just 1 tooth, just one. It should be ridiculously easy. So that's our second tidbit. It should be so easy that your ability to do it is through the roof, and you might actually feel a little bit silly if you can't get up the motivation to floss 1 tooth. And let's be honest, flossing our teeth isn't hard, but for this example, we're actually more focused on training it to become an automatic habit, which is our third tip. So versus getting better or having the tasks be easier, we want this to be something we do without even having to think about it, right? So when you have the floss out, you can certainly floss more than one tooth, but to get to your celebration, you just need to do the one. Then you can increase your tiny habit behavior over time. So eventually you won't need the recipe, you'll just have that habit of flossing your teeth after brushing. Then the last part is celebration. So in this example, we're going to try a fist bump, but there are lots of ways to celebrate. So you can try out different styles and figure out what works for you. So let's look at another example. This is one that Dr. Fogg does, and I've changed it up a little bit for myself, but we'll look at his first. So after I go to the bathroom, I will do 2 push-ups. Then I celebrate by telling myself I'm awesome. So I don't like the idea of getting down on my hands and knees in the bathroom, so I changed that to squats. But it's a great way to build in just teeny tiny healthy habits throughout the day, which if you drink as much water and go to the bathroom as much as I do, it winds up being quite a few squats in a day. So it's a great way to set a New Year's resolution. A big goal like losing COVID weight is a tall order, but setting yourself up for healthy habits that can lead to weight loss, like squats or push-ups, can make a big difference. So the point of these tiny habits is that the tiniest change leads to big changes, and we're much less likely to procrastinate these tiny changes than we are the big ones. So who here has had a big goal that they were just gung-ho, they had all the motivation in the world when they set that goal, but as time went on, they started to lose that motivation, it started to seem much bigger and a lot harder. I certainly have. You know, anytime I set a fitness goal or something like that, I have this idea in my mind of what I want it to look like when I'm done. But I don't think about how do I get there until I learned about the Fogg behavior model or the tiny habits. So does anyone have an example of a big goal that we could break down into tiny goals, or tiny habits?
I want to run a marathon.
Awesome.
If I decided to run a marathon this weekend, I'd probably die. Like, that's not something I am capable of, right? So breaking it down into teeny tiny habits would be great, right? So after I am done with work for the day, I will, and that's the thing about this is like so tiny that it's ridiculous, is I'm going to put my sneakers on. That's it. Like, I don't have to say I'm going to run 5 miles. I don't have to run 1 mile. I don't even have to go for a walk. I just have to put my sneakers on, right? And then I am going to celebrate by remembering that I love my sneakers and these are cool, and I don't wear shoes very often because I don't leave the house very often. But then once I'm wearing my sneakers, it's kind of silly for me to not do something, right? So I've got my sneakers on, I might as well go outside and I might as well walk for a little bit. And this is going okay, maybe I'll run for a little bit, but I don't have to because the goal was I would put my sneakers on. So whatever I accomplish after I put my sneakers on is a celebration.
That's great.
And then once that becomes a habit, I can up that I will walk around the block. And then I will run to 1 telephone pole. So it's flexible too. I like it.
Love it. So another thing we can talk about are some great anchor moments. So if I remember, I think something like 60 or 70% of you drink coffee in the morning. An amazing anchor moment is when you start your coffee, then you can add a tiny behavior in there. If I start my coffee, I'm going to do 2 jumping jacks, or I'm going to, what else could I do? Any ideas in the questions box you can put?
They don't all have to be health related. Maybe I'm going to start my coffee and I'm going to put away all of the dishes in the dish rack. And if there aren't dishes in the dish rack, I'm going to wash whatever's in the sink or wherever I left the dirty dish earlier.
Yeah. That's actually, I wasn't even thinking of that, but that's what I do when I start my tea kettle. Then I open the dishwasher and I put the dishes away. And that I just sort of fell into that tiny habit and routine, but it's great. Ooh, I love that, Brian. Brian says walk around the house until the coffee's done. Yeah, it's, you know, coffee takes a few minutes to brew, so why not get some movement in? I love that.
Good one.
Any other anchor moments? No, you've got a couple great ones, Sarah.
It used to be when I come home from work, but I don't come home from work, right? I'm already at home and I'm still at work. Mine is, we talked a little bit about tech. We talked about watches. I have a Fitbit and it reminds me at 10 minutes until the hour if I haven't moved enough that hour. So if I haven't moved enough, it is hard for me to walk around the house until I get enough steps. So instead I will do, they're kind of like push-ups. I call them inchworms. So it's an exercise where you like walk your hands down your body, you walk your hands out in front of you, do a push-up, walk your hands back and stand up. So I'll do 1 or 2 of those every time my Fitbit tells me that I haven't moved enough. Right.
So
and then I'll celebrate with a little dance.
Sarah shared that one with me a few months ago and I love it, but I tried the inchworms, not for me. I switched it to push-ups when I'm not in my bathroom. It's a little bit better for me.
I agree.
So can anyone think of a great anchor moment, something that you do every day? Here's one that, you know, maybe all of us who are probably on our computers a lot more than we used to be. You know, if you ever get that spinning wheel when you're, you know, waiting for something to load, that can be a source of anxiety, at least for me, and just work. But you can use that as an anchor moment to say, okay, when I get the spinning wheel, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths and try and reset and use it as a touchstone to feel more grounded and less anxious and angry.
One of the ones that we talk about in one of our other courses through Strive Worldwide, we talk a lot about recognizing and naming your emotions. So if you spend time in the car, if you're in the car and you're at a red light, stop and think about, what emotion am I feeling right now?
I love that.
Which is another one, which is if you're trying to get better at acknowledging, you know, what's going on with your emotions and your body, that can be really good. It's another great time to take a few deep breaths too. And then you can celebrate by thinking, you know, how do I feel after those deep breaths? I feel kind of good. I feel relaxed. I feel centered. I feel ready to go.
Yeah. And that celebration can be used as a motivation for really anything. You know, we talked about doing laundry. So one of my brain hacks that I use is that when I am putting away laundry, I get to listen to either my favorite podcast or an audiobook that I'm listening to. And that's my reward and my motivation all mixed into one that makes the job a little more palatable.
Absolutely. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
So I think we are ready for Rosebud Thorn.
All right. So you remember at the very beginning, I asked you to start thinking about something that you learned or that you were going to learn from us, something that you're looking forward to, and something maybe that was unclear or that you're unsure of about our presentation. I mean, we know a lot of things, but don't ask me about calculus because that's unsure for me either. So go ahead and you can put some in the question box if you want. And then I believe that Anne has a link.
Yes, you can paste it.
It's hard for us to talk to. There's looks like about 27 people here, so it's hard for us to hear answers from everybody out loud. We want to hear them though, so Anne is trying to send a link to a Google form that you could fill out that has the questions kind of written in. And I said the G word and my phone lit up. So let's hear them. Let's see if anybody wants to put them in the chat box while we want. Tell me something that you learned.
Yeah, let's do it through the chat because I don't have access to send a link to everybody, and I didn't think to ask you that before.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, so tell me something that you learned. Let's see, here's one. Aaron says, using an anchor to build good habits. Great.
Brian's rose was the Covey Matrix.
Great. I love me some Covey.
Yeah.
Stephen Covey also said that he has a lot of good like one-liners, is that we often listen to we need to learn to listen to understand, not to listen to respond, which I like.
Oh yeah. I do that a lot. I'd be sitting there thinking, what am I gonna say next? That's the brain of an introvert, I think. So I know we have kind of a mixture of participants and professionals in here. In my old role, I needed to do a lot of strategic thinking and planning, but my day was always full of meeting invites, calendar invites, and any second I had free on my calendar, someone would snatch it right up. So I got into the habit of scheduling Q2 time, or the Covey Matrix, the second quadrant. So I'd have 3 hours each week that I could just focus on strategic thinking, and that was really helpful. Viviana says I need to think about having an anchor moment once a day. Yeah, the fun part about this is that we all have anchor moments, whether we call them that or not, but there are certainly things that we all do every day. I mean, we all get out of bed in the morning. That can be an anchor moment. One of the things that I was trying to increase was my meditation. So every moment when I wake up, I open an app called Mindful. I'm still not great at meditating, but this is like my transition step, because Mindful gives you just one sort of meditative thought to think about to start your day versus 5 minutes or however many minutes of meditating. So if I wake up, I do my tiny habit. Sometimes that motivates me to do a longer meditation. Oftentimes it doesn't, but I still have that great, fresh way to start the day. What are some other things that we all do every day? Washing our hands. You got 20 seconds to do something. You don't have to stand still and straight when you're washing your hands. You could do lunges or squats, or you could think a positive thought or something that you want to send to someone.
I like to practice gratitude a lot too. So maybe I'll start making my list while I'm washing my hands of 3 things that I am grateful for that day, or for that trip to the sink for my hands. All right, so we did a lot of roses. Let's hear some things that you're looking forward to.
Erin says celebrating smaller achievements. That is huge. We don't like to think of ourselves as being able to be so psychologically tricked, but we really kind of can be. Just those small little rewards. If you think of all the silly little, I don't know if other people play video games or, just the sort of like wordscapes or words with friends on your phone. So I play wordscapes a lot, and I find that when it's in tournament mode, I play a lot more than when it's not in tournament mode, because I'm not gonna win something, even though I don't win anything, but it's just that little motivation and celebration. Brian says his bud is trying to limit distractions by not looking at every email. Yeah, that is a huge one.
I turned that ding sound off. I turned off the pop-up that says, Anne has sent you an email. I turned that off, and I just now have the little envelope thing. But not gonna lie, I can see that somebody has sent me an email since our seminar has started, and it's kind of killing me to not look at it. So I hear you. But those two, turning off the sound and turning off the big pop-up, really helped me a lot to focus.
Yeah, because that sound, if we look at Dr. Fogg's method, that sound is a prompt for us. And the prompt is to be distracted and stop whatever you're doing and go look at your Gmail. So or whatever your email is. So if you take away the prompt, then that will limit that behavior. Great.
All right, so how about some things that you might be unsure about? Anything that we talked about that wasn't clear? Or...
Exactly. Erin says kind of like when you train a dog with a bell or a click, the email reminders. Exactly.
Yeah, it's the same thing with your phone. When you get a message and it lights up, there's some evidence that that activates the dopamine centers, which are like the hormonal rewards in your brain. It's wild.
Yeah, we vastly misconstrue, or we confuse what we think is rewarding behavior quite a lot, or at least our brains do. We might not think we do, but we get that little addiction to the phone. All right, any thorns? I'm not seeing any coming through. It's not necessarily bad, but if there's something that we can explain more clearly, we'd love to be able to.
If not, this has been really fun. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we hope you learned something today.
And did you want to talk about the handouts?
Oh, yes, thank you. So in the handout area, if you are interested in learning anything more about Strive Worldwide, we have a little bit of information about our program and a list of the classes that we offer. So feel free to check those out. And if you have any questions not related to Rosebud Thorn, we're happy to answer those too. You can type those into the questions box.
Again, unless it's calculus, and then I'm out.
Correct. Or dog training. I'm pretty bad at that. I have some terribly misbehaving dogs. So I need to do what Erin has suggested and use the bell or a click.
This is Ashley again. I just wanted to jump in really quickly before we get to final questions and comments, and thank Dr. Ryan and Sara for being here again. This was incredibly helpful. And I want to give a big thanks to all of the participants who used the questions box feature to answer the prompts and participate. We really, really appreciate it. And again, if there's anybody who wants to participate in the Rosebud Thorn activity, there is still time. So we'll keep an eye on the questions box. Viviana, thank you for being here.
And can you use the question box and the send to all option to send out that link?
Perhaps I can. I don't know, did that get to everyone?
I see I got it.
Awesome.
Excellent. So folks can use the Google Docs link that was just shared in the chat to fill in the Rosebud Thorn activity.
Yep. And that doesn't have to be done in the next 3 seconds because we're winding down here. That's, that link will be live, until it's not. Like, don't worry about rushing.
Perfect. And thank you all again. I don't think there's any other questions or comments in the questions box. So again, thank you both so much for being here and participating in the webinar. We really appreciate it. And just as a quick reminder to all the participants, a survey will pop up at the end of this webinar. It's just 2 questions. We want to know if you found the information presented today useful and what you would like to see us present on in the future. So we'd really appreciate your participation